Where? Biological explanations of schizophrenia. There are two explanations. First one is the dopamine hypothesis. Messages from neurons that transmit dopamine fire too easily or rapidly, or too often, which lead to characteristics of schizophrenia. Comer, 2008. Schizophrenics are thought to have high numbers of D2 receptors, which is dopamine receptors, leading to problems with attention, perception, and thought, which is something that I mentioned in my classification and diagnosis video. Key role played by dopamine in schizophrenia. Right, I'm going to just have a go at saying this. Amphetamines is a drug. God, I'm so bad at reading. How the hell am I an English student? Is an agnostic, which stimulates the nerve cells containing dopamine, causing the synapse to be flooded with the drug that I can't pronounce. Antipsychotics, that's two. Antipsychotics block dopamine activity in the brain, eliminating the symptoms such as hallucinations and delusions. Parkinson's disease, this was found by Grilly, 2002. Low levels of dopamine activity is found in sufferers of Parkinson's disease. These sufferers take a drug called L-dope, that just sounds so ghetto, which causes the dopamine levels to rise. However, L-dope developed schizophrenic type symptoms. So not only you have Parkinson's disease, you also have schizophrenia because of your prescription. I wouldn't want to be in that place. Commentary. Post-mortem studies. Right. Because you have high levels of dopamine and you take drugs, medication, to solve out your symptoms, there can be a very sudden deficiency in your dopamine levels. So studies like the postmortem studies by Hazarak, 1982, a review of postmortem studies, most schizophrenics who showed high dopamine levels received an antipsychotic drug shortly before death. However, those who didn't show high levels received no medication. And there's a problem with that study. Not only does it contradict the dopamine hypothesis, but it also says that drugs don't work. And as a psychologist, you can't believe everything you see, so you've got to find research and back it up. This is one of the research that will help me evaluate my essay in my exam. Evidence from neuroimaging research. Right, neuroimaging research is when you have like a brain scan and they tell you about your activity and your neurons and... not your neurons. It is your neurons. Yes, it is. Your neurons and all of that in your brain. And PET scans. Don't ask me the full form because I don't know. But if you're interested, please Google it and let me know. PET scans allow researchers to monitor dopamine activity more than previous studies where they used to measure dopamine activity in poop. So, Kopelov and Crook, 2008, did neuroimaging studies, and they've said that they failed to provide convincing evidence that the changes in dopamine levels that lead to schizophrenia in individuals. Once again, we found a contradiction in these studies, but nevertheless, I'm sure someone out there has a backing up study. Enlarged ventricles. Now, our brain is made up of many ventricles, and this guy called Torrey, 2002, shame on you, scam. No, I'm joking. Torrey, if nobody caught that reference, you have to be at student protests where people have said, Torrey, scam, here we come, but that's going off on a tangent, so back to schizophrenia. Torrey, 2002, said that the ventricles of schizophrenic was 15 times bigger than normal humans. However, Borstein et al. 1992 said that schizophrenics with enlarged ventricles tend to display negative symptoms rather than positive symptoms. So they're a bit, closed off and stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my other video and then come back to this one. once again, our friend Kopolov and Crook are back in 2002 with a meta-analysis. Meta-analysis is when you look at published studies and come with a conclusion of 90 CT scans. Once again, if you don't know what a CT scan is, look it up and get back to me. And it showed an overlap between schizophrenia and the control population, which was normal people, in terms of enlarged ventricles. So then comes another guy called Lyon, 1981, and said that the dose of medication increased, the density of brain tissues decreased, thus leading to enlarged ventricles. But it could be just that enlarged ventricles could be due to poor development of the brain, or tissue damage, or maybe just, sorry, I've run out of points. Poor damage of the brain development, poor brain development, tissue damage. That's about it. Those are the only two reasons. I don't have more. I'm not smart. Then the second, excuse me. Then the second explanation is genetic factors in twin studies, where monozygotic twins share. Monozygotic is twins that look like you, so identical twins. Monozygotic twins share 100% of their genes, and dizygotic twins, which is paternal twins, I think, twins who don't look alike, share 50% of their genes. Now, concordance rates are very important. You'll find out why. Joseph, 2004. Schizophrenic studies carried out before 2001 showed concordance rates for the MZ twins to be 40.4% and dizygotic twins 7.4%. Right. There's such thing as blind diagnosis, which means that the researchers that are looking at the twins don't know whether they're monozygotic or dizygotic. So recently, due to the blind diagnosis, there was a lower concordance rate for monozygotic twins, but both of these findings support the genetic explanation of schizophrenia, that maybe schizophrenia is inherited from your parents or your grandparents or someone in your family, as the concordance rate for MZ, monozygotic twins, is a lot bigger than DZ, dizygotic twins. Then, to make complicated theories, psychologists have looked at family studies. They established that schizophrenia is more common among biological parents. The closer the relative, the greater the risk. And they found that children with two schizophrenic parents, have a 46% concordance rate. Children with one schizophrenic parent have a 13% concordance rate. And if your sibling has schizophrenia, then you have a 9% concordance rate. I am so sorry, my throat is so dry. That's better. Right. However, researchers believe that schizophrenia doesn't run in the family, but it's due to the rearing patterns rather than the hereditary. So, I don't know, we've got a pro and a con there again. But, you know, not all of us are born to our parents and some of us are adopted. So adoption studies on which is done on biologically related relatives who have been reared apart. Tirani et al. 2002, this is a Finnish study, looked at 164 adoptees whose biological mothers were diagnosed as schizophrenics. Now, 11 out of these 164, which makes it a 6.7%, of these people were diagnosed with schizophrenia, whereas only 4 out of the, which makes it 2%, out of the 197 control adoptees who weren't born to schizophrenic parents, were diagnosed with schizophrenia. These findings conclude that the genetics explanation of the likelihood of having schizophrenia from genes is confirmed. So yeah, moving on to commentary once again on twin studies. Twin studies assume that, you know, twins are equal, especially monozygotic twins that look like each other. People assume they like the same kind of music and they do the same things because, you know, they look alike. Whereas DZ twins, there we go, I'm not going to try and make a fool out of myself. DZ twins don't share the same look, so people think they're two different individuals. So as Joseph, 2004, said that MZ twins are treated more similarly, encouraging similar environments than DZ twins. Thus, the concordance rate reflects nothing but the environmental factors that distinguish between the two types of the twins. In simple words, they don't mean jack shit. Adoption studies. Adoptees are not selectively placed, you know. A child of a schizophrenic is no different to a child of a non-schizophrenic. However, in countries like the USA and Denmark, allow potential adoptive parents to look into a child's genetic background prior to adoption. And Kringeling, what a nice name, 1989, found that because adoptive parents can look into the genetic makeup of potential adopting children, I think. Potential children they wish to adopt, there we go. They might reject a child with a complicated genetic background, which I think is very unfair. Stuff you. But coming from a psychological point of view. However, genetic explains why some people are schizophrenic and some people aren't. It makes it easier to find what's it called? A cause and effect. There we go. It makes it easier to find a cause and effect. You have this gene, thus you have this. However, it doesn't explain why some people who are normal and don't have schizophrenia have the same type of enlarged ventricles like schizophrenics. And also, the biological explanation is quite reductionist, which means it comes down to just your genes. It's not environmental factors, it's not your influence, it's not what you've been doing, such as like smoking weed or, you know, doing drugs. What else is there? It suggests that you have no free will over yourself. Like, you know, if you're schizophrenic, it's your genes' fault, nobody else's. So yeah, that's the biological explanation to schizophrenia.